police car pulled up in front of Grandma Bessie's house. She was surprised to see her husband Morris step out of the car. The police officer held the door open. The officer walked Grandma Morris over to Bessie and politely explained to her that Morris said he was lost in the park and couldn't find his way home. Morris, Bessie said, you've been going to that park for over 30 years. How come you got lost today? As he hugged his wife closely, Morris whispered so only she could hear. I wasn't lost. I was just too tired to walk home. In that story, Morris didn't think he was lost. The thoughtful police officer did. Officers' duties included being on alert and ready to help those with perceived needs. And the officer left the scene certain he had helped the lost man, and actually he did help. He got a too tired elderly man home. Now, Morris may have been unwilling to admit he was tired, but I doubt the officer would have denied him a ride if he told him the truth that he was. In either way, the officer is the one who would have perceived the need and rested and acted on it. In Jesus' parable that Cindy read so nicely, the two lost things are notably also lost in the eye of the one who seeks, finds, and rests. The finder perceives the need, but the objects sought and found do not. We're not told the sheep had a sense of being lost. The coin, of course, didn't have any sense of that. Another fascinating part of this lesson is that neither the sheep nor the coin can repent. In other words, Jesus' stories are not so much about the lost and their need to repent as about gaining perspective about what is lost and what to doggedly seek and find and rescue. And maybe most poignantly, that the truly righteous are supposed to rejoice, not grumble at the pursuit and welcome of each person to Jesus' table. In the Gospels, we see Jesus time and again as God's hands and feet and voice on the earth, endlessly pursuing lost ones. And that's true even if the culture did not care to find them, which is hinted at in our lesson today. It's also true that in the Gospels, Jesus' pursuit of the lost goes on even when the lost don't feel lost. You see, neither sinners nor scoffers stop Jesus from passionately seeking to find and rescue those he considers lost. And it's also notable that the immediate rescue is not from hell in the afterlife, but rather salvation from the lesser way of life they've been on, including the lack of Jesus' company and the meals that Jesus critics in the story would deny to the lost. The message throughout the New Testament and in our verses this morning is that the truly righteous strive to do as Jesus does. And so the grumbling Pharisees and the scribes in the story are ironically, backhandedly highlighted as sinners themselves for not acting in the gracious manner Jesus does. They look down their nose at those perceived as less than they. And so Jesus tells a story where the lost are equal to the unlost, and even so have more of God's attention, because God abhors waywardness and calls over and over and over to the wayward to get back on the path toward goodness, toward godliness. God endlessly aims humans to get back on track. The sheep and the coin in the story today are metaphors for the spiritually lost. They are lost in the sense that they are sinners. And we know that's what they are because we're told that they've been coming to listen to Jesus. Yet the religious elite chided Jesus by grumbling and saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." But as the Lord suggested, the grumblers are also sinners. Their grumbling alone evidences that. And I know a lot of us cringe when a pastor puts the word sinners in a sentence. The word sin and sinner, in my opinion, have long been abused misuse, and Jesus acts as if they were in his day as well. The word sin has been loaded up with guilt and dark, foreboding negativity. But what it really seems to do is name the truth that humans, as a rule, are not perfect. Certainly not me, and I'm guessing not you either. Humans, as a rule, being imperfect is not the same as humans, as a rule, being terrible, which is how most of us have been taught to hear the word sin and sinner and sinning. And I've mentioned before that the word sin is derived from an archery term in Hebrew meaning to miss the mark. To sin is to miss the marks that God aims us at. From time to time, we all have such misses. Repenting means to turn from the failure when we notice the miss, pick up our arrows, and re-aim them and try and hit the mark. It's how life works. Sin doesn't need to be understood as always meaning terrible conduct. It is only terrible when we do not even try to hit the mark God aims us at, or worse, when we intentionally miss it, like the grumblers in the lesson. Who should know better? And so our lesson starts with the irony of self-righteous missing God's mark of care and of welcome. The elite who would have Jesus not welcome sinners are themselves sinners. And as often is the case, Jesus doesn't directly call them out on hypocrisy. Instead, he tells stories of lost things being sought. God seeks as a shepherd in one and as a woman in the other. And notably, Jesus is God metaphorically appearing as both male and a female figure. And you may have heard that God must be thought of as male, yet Jesus, smack dab in the middle of the Gospels, evokes another female image of God. And if Jesus can do that, so can we. And we can understand Jesus' very intentional inclusion of images of God as male and female as a lesson that both men and women, all people, can and should act like God does in the parables and like Jesus does in the story and throughout the New Testament. Like God and Christ, we are to seek out the lost by doing what Jesus' opponents accuse him of doing, welcoming sinners and eating with them. We're supposed to do that. And what's more, we are not to wait around hoping they will decide they are tired and want to ride or figure out that they are lost. We are to tirelessly search and move heaven and earth, if need be, to find them and rescue them like the shepherd with a lost lamb and the woman with a missing coin. We are to rejoice when we find them and they are rescued, not grumble. We are assured that heaven itself will rejoice when they are found. Which I think Jesus said as a tongue-in-cheek reference to those negative, sinning looky-loos who were not rejoicing. We can understand one more point Jesus makes in these verses, a point that is often overlooked. The story Jesus tells are not about lumped together groups of the lost, as if all the tax collectors, or all the grumbling self-righteous, or all aliens, or all the enemies, or all the non-Christians are singled out for need of rescue. The singularity of the lost in Jesus' story stands out. The grumblers lump others into groups to ridicule, and Jesus goes out of his way to talk in terms of the one sheep, the one point, the one sinner, the one who repents. Jesus does not label groups. He does not otherwise others by making it about stereotypes or lump together people. Jesus' lesson is about individuals. So he doesn't see himself as welcoming and eating with types of people. He sees his ministry as focused on and caring for each individual. He tends to the person. In the gospel accounts, he certainly challenges the collective conduct of people in and through institutions, but he tends to the person. A single individual is a deep, deep concern to Jesus. And I remind us every week that we matter much, and it is so, so true. In this great, big, ginormous universe, the very creative source and power that made it cares about little tiny us, about you. Whatever troubles you, not only troubles God, but has God affirmatively trying to end the trouble. Whatever waywardness you think you have, or whatever waywardness you have and cannot see or admit, God's already on the hunt, trying to help you be found and restored to the path that's best. And if that sounds unbelievable, let me ask if there has been or is waywardness in your life that troubles you. And if so, did you or do you have a longing to get back onto the right path and leave it behind? I'm willing to bet that even if any of us has not taken action to correct whatever is troubling us, we feel a pull to do so, a pull that's in us to a better way of being. And believe it or not, that sense of pull is the very force of the universe. God, focused on you. To put it in words of Jesus' parables, whatever lost feeling you may have, you are the lamb that the shepherd tirelessly looks for. You are the coin that the woman tenaciously seeks. The singular you matters. And you can feel it. And it's not just when we are lost or we are otherwise wayward. We are, as I mentioned last week, made of the stuff of stars. We are stellar in makeup and in the eyes of our Creator. And I chose the invocation from Psalm 8 for its remarkable way of pointing out that we matter. Speaking to God, the psalmist writes, "And I behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you set in place. What is humanity that you should be mindful of us? Who are we that you should care for us? You have made us barely less than God and crowned us with glory and honor." In the book of Matthew, Jesus points out that God, the creator of the universe, cares for us individually. We can understand Jesus and take Psalm 8 to the very singular level in Matthew 6 when he says, "Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they?" 4 chapters later in Matthew 10, Jesus returns to the "if even a sparrow matters to God, humans surely do," when he states, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. And even the hairs of your head are counted. So do not be afraid. You are of more value than many sparrows." How is it the God of the great expanse of the universe cares for us like a shepherd cares for one lost sheep, or a woman cares for one lost piece of treasure? I think the better question is, why do we persist in thinking God would not care? And to either question, the answer is, to quote the Bible in the Apostle Paul, that it is in God that we live and move and have our being. And the more I quote that, and I quote it a lot, the more I think of us all as being in the womb of God, her very own children, enveloped as they are formed throughout life. We may exit our mother's wombs at birth, but we are born into God's womb, and we stay there for life. I always marvel at the last month of pregnancy, where each unborn person is very much a part of the mother, can be seen and felt, actively living and moving, having their being in her womb. And here's Paul's theology to place us in the womb of God. And it fits with Genesis theology that has us made in the image of God and have God's breath. And as we discussed last week, we have no less than the very makings of the universe in us. Our own being is in all of that Godness. And one way or another, God is a part of us, and we are a part of God. And that's true no matter what we do. Whether it's sin, scoff at Jesus, collect taxes, whatever it is any of us might think makes us unworthy, or anything anyone else claims that makes us unworthy. And there's joy in heaven when sinners repent, because it means a small part of God is healing. When we allow that God has female attributes, as Jesus allows, our life can be understood to be in and part of the very womb of our mother, God. And God wants all her parts healing. And what hurts us hurts her. And when we heal, she heals. And the quickest way to healing for human mistakes and wrongs, what we call sin, is forgiveness. Forgiveness is what Jesus is doing when he lets in the sinners. He gives forgiveness freely as God does. And for us, forgiveness can be so much harder and not so freely given. We have to work at it, sometimes all our life. And so for us, forgiveness is best thought of as a process we need to offer ourselves and to one another. And the first things I always point out are that the process of forgiveness can be very, very long, and it is not forgetting. It is working on the reparation of relationship with God in others. As wrongdoers, we need to strive to do our part in the path of forgiveness. We must acknowledge the harm we have done, show remorse for it, and request forgiveness as we try our very best to repair the damages we caused. As victims, we need to work to find a way to abandon whatever sense of revenge and retribution we may have toward the person who harmed us. We need to aim as best we can to try to no longer see the wrongdoer as an other. And this doesn't mean that there aren't other consequences for wrongs, and nor does it require victims to be in the same place with the person who makes them feel unsafe. It means that we need to work on being able to one day let go of our anger and revenge and see a wrongdoer as a person, even if broken, a person worthy of God's love. We need to get to the point where we don't complain that Jesus and God welcome every sinner. Indeed, like the shepherd, they seek all those lost sheep. Like the woman, they look for all those lost treasures. And all of heaven rejoices when they are found. Jesus forgives them, God forgives them, and the them includes us. May we rejoice as angels in heaven and strive mightily to forgive as God and Jesus do. May we know that whatever it is we might think keeps us from God, it's not true, because among those God and Jesus are hoping to find, no matter what they do, is me and you. Steadfastly and forever they love us through